are going to our last informational portion of today, where another one of our budget execution team leads, Mark Bondo, will talk to us about continuing resolutions.
Yes, we were just asking, could we reimburse with Uber? We were talking about Uber and travel, so I was pontificating on that. But so yeah, right now we'll talk about the continuing resolution, which is what happens, and this is a rare scenario, right? What happens if the fiscal year starts, but the General Assembly has not passed a budget and the governor has not signed it, or the General Assembly hasn't overridden his veto? In that case, the state operates under what's known as the continuing resolution. And if anyone follows the news in the federal government, and you see all these sort of government shutdowns and that sort of stuff, prior to 2016, the state used to have to pass similar short-term legislation to keep the government open until a budget was passed. In 2016 and then thereafter, the General Assembly passed an amendment to the State Budget Act, which is commonly referred to as the statutory continuing resolution, which sets out the process for what happens to the state if there is no budget that has been enacted. Next slide. Under the statutory continuing resolution, the state's authorized to operate the new fiscal year under the following constrained environment. And it is a constrained environment because it's of this very nature. Spending levels for all funds is the recurring certified appropriation from the previous fiscal year. And as y'all can imagine, there's a lot of times when you see other states that can't pass a budget on time. Typically, one big reason is that, well, there's a big financial problem and we can't, and the holdup is, well, how do we make cuts necessary to solve this, or tax increases necessary to solve it? If that were the case, the state constitution and the State Budget Act allows us to reduce funds to the agencies until to allow us to balance the budget. Vacant positions that are eliminated in one chamber's budget that's passed that chamber have to be held vacant. The reason is if someone were going to take that cut sort of has to be held open. Next item. State employee benefits remain the same as under the previous fiscal year. So even though a lot of times there's an increase in requirements to fund the state retirement system or state health plan, the benefit rates would remain as they were in the previous fiscal year. And as we can see in this current fiscal year with the budget that just passed last month, there might be a need to sort of catch up with what's been funded. Salary increases are not generally allowed, and that includes in-range adjustments, step increases, across-the-board salary increases, schedule increases, or merit bonuses, etc. And this applies to positions that are funded from the state general fund and agency and university receipts. This does not apply if the position is a promotion to a new position. So if I were to become the state budget director, I could get a raise. The next item. Agencies can accept new grants under the continuing resolution, and this applies to grants that are not in your base budget. So if you're DEQ and every year you get a grant from the EPA and it's in your base budget, this doesn't apply. But if you are DHHS and you apply for a new grant and you get it, you can budget that grant in the following manner. If it's over 2.5, if it's under 2.5 million, it's not a capital project, there's no state match, you can budget it and report it to the legislature. If it's over 2.5 million, it is a capital project, does require a state match. It's a consultation, which is a 90-day waiting period to the legislature, or the legislature can meet and allow you to do it. In the case of an emergency, for example, a global pandemic or a hurricane, and it has to be a declared emergency, a grant can be budgeted if it's under $10 million or 1%, whichever is less, of the agency's total grant awards for that year. Next slide. So one of the things that our team does at budget execution is we help calculate what is the recurring certified budget. So what we do, for example, in this year, was we took the base budget and removed all adjustments from it, and we took out all non-recurring adjustments that were made. And that's how we got to the certified budget. And it's also what you could do is take out some entries as well. And base budget adjustments, so if you were expecting that lease increase or annualization of positions, cannot be made without an appropriation of the General Assembly. So those would also remain undone. One of the questions that we got asked a lot is last year we thought that there was going to be a financial shortfall due to the pandemic. So there was a lot of non-recurring reductions made to agency budgets. Those actually went away, so increased general funds started to flow to the agencies if they needed them. So if there's a non-recurring cut, the general fund money would actually come back. Budget adjustments. So we can't go into IBIS and approve anything, but you can still submit budget requests in IBIS, and we can give you an email or verbal approval that the budget adjustment was allowed. But we can't approve anything until a budget's certified. Certified and authorized columns in your budget will remain blank until the budget is passed. So you'll see expenditures, but you won't have anything to compare against them for the budget. Next item. And then, does anyone have any questions?